Hello, my name's Jackie Kerin. And before I begin my presentation, I'd like to thank the World Kamishibai Forum for inviting me to share with you some of the fun that I have with Kamishibai. But where am I beaming from, I wonder? Perhaps you can tell by my accent, but if you can't, here's something to help you. Here I am in Australia, way down in the southeast corner in Melbourne. Now in Australia, it's customary before you tell a story or give a lecture to acknowledge the First Nations people. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging that today I'm standing on the land of the Kulin Nation and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Well, now, how did I learn about Kamishibai living way down there in the southeast corner of Australia? Well, I'm a storyteller. I've been telling stories for a long time. And it was in, about 2000, I was reading a book, always reading, always learning. And this was a book by Polish-American anthologist, folklorist, writer, storyteller, Anna Manuel, The World of Storytelling. And in that book, I first read about Kamishibai, a form of storytelling that was connected to comic book making and animation. I so wanted to give it a try, but where was I going to get a stage? And I didn't have a story to tell. It all just seemed too hard. Well, I'm very fortunate to have a good friend by the name of Ted Smith, and Ted is an excellent carpenter. I explained to him what I wanted, and after many diagrams and looking at pictures, he made me this beautiful stage. It's made from Australian eucalyptus or gum tree. So this is really an Aussie Kamishibai. And when I saw it and saw how beautiful it was, I thought, oh, this stage is going to outlive me. So I had Ted put a little plaque on the back with his name, Ted Smith, and the year he made it, 2011. Now Ted was adamant that he didn't want any payment, but he had one condition, that the first story I told would be in his granddaughter's kindergarten for her 4th birthday. So I set to work. I bought Tara's book and read it from cover to cover. I watched hours and hours of Japanese storytellers on YouTube. Thank you very much. And I set to work to create my first story. So what was that story? Let's have a look. There's some animals inside here, some Australian animals. Let's see if you can guess who they are. This is a eucalyptus tree, a big old gum tree. So old, it's got a big hollow in it. That hollow is someone's home. I wonder whose it is. Let's have a look. Can you guess? Let's go very slowly because I don't want to frighten whoever it is. There it is, an Australian barn owl. I've got another one here. This is a burrow. Lots of animals live in burrows. Rabbits, yeah, but rabbits aren't Australian animals. They were brought here by the colonists in this burrow, which is bigger than a rabbit's burrow anyway. There is another kind of animal. Let's have a look. Oh, it's a wombat, an Australian wombat. Beautiful, beautiful animals. They're about the size of, I'm trying to think of how I could describe their size, about the size of a small coffee table. A wombat, and wombats live in burrows. Now, let me close this up. So I'm ready to tell you my very first story. This is a story about a dog. His name was Split Dog. Oh, now I know that's a strange name for a dog, but he wasn't always called Split Dog. His first name was Dog. Well, I think that's a perfectly sensible name, Dog. I know some people call their pets Fluffy and Spot, but I think Dog's all right. Now, let me tell you, before Dog was called Split Dog, here he is. Let me show you to him. Oh, look at him there. He's a very, very handsome dog and very intelligent. And he belonged to a friend of mine who I only know by the name of Old Joe. Now, Old Joe, he was a bit of a daydream, a bit like me, really. Oh, but that's another story. So here we go. This is how Dog became Split Dog. Dog and Old Joe were out hunting. You can see their prints. You can see Old Joe's boot prints. You can see Dog's paw prints, and you can see the animal they're hunting. I wonder if you can guess what animal that is. Well, can you guess? I think some of you already have. You're right. It was a kangaroo. Oh, but this wasn't any old average normal kangaroo. No, this was a huge kangaroo, a big male kangaroo. Oh, we sometimes call them boomers. Oh, and this boomer, it did not want to get caught. I mean, would you? So off it went. Boing, 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 and Dog chased after it. Boing, boing, boing. That kangaroo, boing, it went to the right. Boing, it went to the left. And then boing, it went behind a big old gum tree. Well, Dog didn't know which way to go. Should he go to the right? Should he go to the left? Right, left. Which way do you think he should go? Right or left? Some think right and some think left. Well, I'll tell you. It was in a moment of indecision. This teaches us something, I think, this story, that we should all make up our mind which way we want to go, right or left. Because in all the excitement, Dog, he went both ways at the same time, right and left. And this is what happened. Old Joe couldn't believe his eyes. Oh no, crikey, what's happened to me dog? He's gone and split himself in two. Oh no, what am I gonna do? When Old Joe scratched his head, and then he had a thought. Behind his ear, he always kept a big wad of chewing gum up. I know that's a bit disgusting. He popped it into his mouth, gave it a big chew, till it was really good and sticky. Then he got the two halves of Dog. He got the right half and he got the left half. And with that sticky gum, he stuck Dog back together again. Oh, but I did say he was a bit of a daydreamer and he wasn't concentrating, and this is what he did. Oh no, crikey, what have I gone and done? I've gone and stuck me dog together, two legs up and two legs down. Oh no, what am I going to do now? I know what I'll do. Oh, I'll just change his name. I'll call him Split Dog from now on. So that's how Dog became Split Dog. And from that day on, this is how Dog got around. And he can actually go really quite fast. And that is the end of that. So there you go. That's the first story that I ever told. Now, Split Dog and Old Joe, they go on to have many adventures, but I haven't got time to share those with you now. Before I move on and start talking about something else, I'd like to share with you some of the things that I was doing in those stories that you might be interested in. Some of my little tips and tricks, my little music box. I've got about 4 of these. I bought them in various museums and art galleries in their stores. They're quite easy to find in Australia, and I like them because you can see all the mechanics, and they're quite magical for children because without the resonator, you can't hear it. So I have fun with those. I wanted to talk about the drawing of the cards. I'm not a particularly good drawer. I've got better over the years. And I've found that I use water pencils. I don't know if you're familiar with these. Coloured pencils that you then get a paintbrush and they become like watercolour. I find they're very forgiving. So I use water pencils a lot, and the story cards for Split Dog and for the animals that you saw were all drawn using the water pencils. And I wanted to show you the mechanics of those cards. So in case you didn't work it out, here's the owl. I've used 2 pieces of card. This is the tree on the front, and then there's one at the back. I'll open it up so you can see, which way? This way. I'll open it up so you can see inside. Hope you can see that. What I did was I drew the whole picture with the owl and everything. Then I cut out the owl and stuck it on to the back card. And then I made the piece to slide in, just to slide in. So it's quite easy. And I'm often amazed, children who are used to phones and all the fun they can have with digital technology, a simple thing like this, and it's magic. They go, oh, how did you do that? So, and then I was going to show you, here it is. That was next. Split Dog. I'm sure you worked that one out. He's just been drawn onto a separate piece of paper, cut out, and one of those little metal pins goes through him. But the thing I wanted to show you, if you do use something like this, is you need to protect the cards behind. So I've got a little bit of tape over that pin because I found that it was damaging the card behind. Now, one of the things that really excited me in the very beginning was the connection of Kamishibai to comic book making. And I had a go at making some comic books. Here we go. I made some to go with Split Dog. I have a lot of fun with these. So when I go to schools and libraries especially, I can show children how the connection works between Kamishibai and comic book making. So since my very first story in 2011, I now have a stack of stories that I've made, swapped, collaborated with other people and artists who can actually really draw. I've had so much fun, and I tell stories in all kinds of places. Of course, I tell them in kindergartens, childcare centres, libraries, but I also tell stories in museums, art galleries, public gardens. And what I'd like to do now is show you a couple of film clips of the work that I've been doing now for a couple of years with a collaborator. Her name is Sarah De Pasquale. She's a classically trained violinist. And we've had great fun putting music to some stories. Now, the first video I'm going to show you is a story that we were telling in our local botanic gardens. It's we're outside under a tent with a rather raucous sounding microphone, and we're telling a story about how plants were brought to Australia by the colonists on board ships. So it's a story that was very relevant to the Botanic Gardens. So I'll show you a little glimpse of that. And then following that video, there's another very, very special story that I tell.
When you bite into a pear and the juice dribbles down your chin, or when you spread a picnic rug under the shady elm, or smell a rose, do you ever ask yourself the question, how did these plants come to be in Australia? Well, it's quite likely that the answer lies in the story of the amazing case of Dr. Ward. Dr. Ward scratched his head in thought. I wonder if a plant can survive inside a sealed glass jar for 3.5 years without adding any extra water, then surely it could survive a long sea voyage in a glass case. This calls for an experiment. Dr. Ward arranged to have some glass cases made. And they were a success. Soon they were being built in all shapes and sizes, and they were called Wardian Cases, after the good doctor. Filled with plants, they travelled the globe from India, China, New Zealand, Thailand, and back again. And in Australia, the newspapers announced, "The Wardian Cases have arrived. Come and get your lemon, lime, orange, peach, pear, plum trees." And we have primroses. So, the next time you bite into a pear, or spread a picnic rug under the shady elm, or gather up the leaves of the liquid amber, or smell a rose, just think, the ancestors to these plants might have arrived in the ancestors to these plants might have arrived in one of Dr. Ward's amazing cases.
Now, the reason this one is so special is this. In Australia, we get these wondrous migratory shorebirds. They come down to Australia for the summer, and then in winter they take off and they fly all the way up along the eastern edge of the Asian continent up to the Arctic tundra, where they breed. Now, these migratory birds, they connect us to countries right up through the north of Asia, and especially Japan. And there's a story that I tell. It's a beautiful, beautiful story that was created by the volunteers at the Yatsuhigata Nature Observation Centre in Narashino. And it's available, the story is available online for you to download for telling in educational settings. Now, the piece of the recording that I'm going to show you was made during COVID because, of course, Sarah and I couldn't go out and tell stories, and we wanted to share the story during the festivities that are around World Migratory Bird Day. This is an event that is celebrated along what's called the East Asian Australasian Flyway. So we recorded the story in a studio, and we were able to virtually have our celebrations around migratory birds. And I love this story very, very much. And yeah, enjoy.
Oh, Tom, let me tell you, Siberia is, well, it's pleasant enough in summer, but in winter it gets very, very cold. Cold. Fueled by all that fat he's carrying, the redneck stints take to the sky. Tom looks over his shoulder at Siberia, the only home he's ever known, disappearing behind him. They fly through the days and they fly through the nights. They fly for so long that Tom, he grows weary and falls to the back of the flock. Help me, somebody! Help me, I can't keep up! When are we going to get there?
Keep flying, Tom, keep flying. It won't be long before we get to one of the best restaurants on the flyway.
I can't keep going. I can't. When are we going to get there?
Tom, they've got polychaete worms.
Oh, polychaete worms.
They've got arthropods.
Arthropods. And sure enough, it's not long before they arrive at one of the best restaurants on the flyway, the Yatsuigata Nature Observation Center, Narashino City, Japan. And when they get there, down they swoop. And Tom, well, he eats and he eats and he eats until soon he's round and fat as a ball. Polychaete worm. Arthropod. Polychaete worm. Why, hello. Tom feels a shadow pass over him.
In the story that we recorded in the Botanic Gardens, I'm not sure you got to see many of the illustrations. And also I need to acknowledge Lorraine Callow, my friend who did the artwork for these stories. So I'll just give you a little bit of a glimpse. She keeps the originals, of course. I had these scanned and printed, and they're absolutely gorgeous, so full of colour. We have a wonderful time with these stories. I love collaborating. I love working with other artists, musicians, other storytellers, and yeah, collaboration I think would have to be one of my favourite words. Just a couple more things that I'd like to share with you. I'm often asked, why do I bother to create my own picture stories when you can buy beautiful stories off the shelf? Well, firstly, even though I'm not a brilliant artist, I really do enjoy making my own stories. I've learned a lot over the years, and I think I've got better at it the more I've understood how Kamishibai works, but it's taken me a while. I do have some gorgeous stories that have been bought off the shelf, and I love them and I love telling them. But with my own stories, the copyright is mine. I'm free, I can tell them anywhere, I can charge for them, I'm free. So it's a nice feeling to be free of copyright responsibilities. Now, the other thing that I am often asked is, do I travel with this rather heavy wooden Aussie Kamishibai? Well, yes, I do. And I have travelled around Australia, I've travelled overseas, and I've carried this beautiful, precious object in my suitcase. But it is heavy and it's awkward. So unless I really need it, well, I came up with another solution. So this is one that I might take, say, to a conference or to workshops. It's much easier. Now, this is how I made it. I'll hold it up, see if you can see it. It's made from 2 recycled picture frames. I found them in a second-hand store. They were unused. They're IKEA picture frames, A3. There's one here, so it makes a nice solid frame. And I was lucky that there were 2 in the shop. I got a matching one. This is another one here. This is thick cardboard, lots and lots of paper mache to keep it nice and strong, and oh, I'm holding that upside down. You can see on the bottom here, oh, I hope you can, just hold it up there. There's a little raised shelf that I made so the cards sit up nicely and don't drop too far below the frame. It's nice and light. I painted the front, but I left the sides and the back as paper mache, the texture, so you can see how it's made. So I know quite a few people have made these once they've seen mine, so maybe you'll be inspired to give that a go. Now, the other thing I'm asked, especially by Kamishibai storytellers, is what is this frame that you have or stand that you have your stage on? Well, that word again, it's a recycled speaker stand. Now, just see if I can raise it a bit so you can see. It's a bit awkward, but you should be able to see. See how I'm raising it? I can raise it and I can lower it. It's very sturdy. I can't show you, but it's a tripod. It's got 3 legs underneath, and it's excellent because if I'm in a kindergarten or a childcare centre and I'm working with children on the floor, I can get it nice and low. But if I'm working in a theatre or a bigger space, I can raise it. Now, how is it fixed to the stand? Okay, see if I can do this. Pull it apart. It's got a couple of bolts here. I don't know if you can see me there. Oh, I might just raise it up a bit. So hopefully you can see that. This is the trouble making a DIY video. I'm unscrewing one of the bolts. There you go. And there's another one here. There's a little metal plate that's been welded to the top of the speaker stand. There's the other bolt. I lift that off and you can see, hopefully you can see the holes there where it's fixed to the stand. There's also some other holes there. That was another solution that I tried. They were earth magnets, and I used to have it clamped onto an adapted ladder, but it wasn't actually all that secure. Now I'll see if I can, just put that down there, see if I can show you, lift it up, show you. It's a bit hard to do this here. I don't know if you can see there's a little, I can't tilt that because I'm banging against the wall, but there's a little metal plate there that's been soldered on to the top of the speaker stand. I've got to say, it's absolutely fantastic. Really improved my life having that stand. It collapses down to something that's about this big and about this round, and I made a little bag. I can put it in and put it over my shoulder. Kamishibai and stand. Well, that's all from me here in Australia. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I had a lot of fun putting it together, and thank you again to the Kamishibai Forum for making this opportunity available to us. And fingers crossed that at some time in the future we are able to all gather and share stories and ideas one day, somewhere, face to face.
Hi, this is Anna. I'm a storyteller and educator. I'm beaming from Australia, but just last month, I was in my second home, Thailand. And my first home, the Philippines, I haven't visited in the past few years because of travel restrictions. I find it amazing how different cultures intersect within us and how we bring those cultures in our own practice. And Kamishibai adds to that mix. I love how Kamishibai as an art form has also become multicultural in a sense because people around the world have been inspired by it and have shaped it and brought their own cultures in their making and telling of Kamishibai stories. So thank you so much for the World Kamishibai Forum for providing this platform where we can share, explore, and expand the culture of our work as tellers, educators, parents, and any other roles that we play. There's so much that I want to share about my Kamishibai practice that I wrote a script to keep to time. So I'll be reading off of this script, so you'll see my eyes shift up and down, and I hope it's not too distracting. 2016, my life has changed, and that was the time when I first lived in Bangkok. And I visited a small Japanese preschool, and that's where I first saw Kamishibai performed. The Japanese teacher brought out these gigantic paper envelopes, took one, opened it, and slid out picture cards. I remember how she told the stories. Slow, deliberate, simple, straightforward. The essence of the story was right in front of me, and I haven't seen anything as simple and engaging and clever like that before. It was like TV, but slow. And it felt like my brain and my heart found a story that they can both appreciate and distill at their own pace. I cannot particularly remember the stories the Japanese teacher told, but I remember the feelings I had while I was listening. Well, first, I think I participated more than the kids did. And yeah, it feels like it sparked something in me, a childlike wonder and a joyful playfulness. And being an educator, I saw the possibilities of using Kamishibai in the classroom. And these past years, I've explored and I've seen how Kamishibai can be used to teach early literacy. Well, first and foremost, the most attractive thing for me as an educator in using Kamishibai, and I think you'll like this too, is that it makes it easy, so easy to teach, to engage, and to manage a group of little children. Because the actual setup, the stage, the botai, is very attractive in itself. It holds attention more effectively, and the teller, of course, makes the stories fun as well. So when children pay attention and they're having fun, they can learn so much. See for yourself. Watch this video. It's a story that I wrote and I drew. It's called Animex. And note down the things that children can learn just from viewing or engaging with this single story.
What is an Animex? You might ask. Let me tell you a story. I have two best friends, Jackie and Danny. Now, Jackie, Danny, and I, we love doing things together, like playing outside, riding our bicycles, and taking care of animals. In fact, each of us has a pet. I have a pet. Can you guess what that is? Chameleon. In Filipino, we say unyango. And we like playing hide and seek. And you know who always wins? My friend Danny has a pet turtle. She calls her Sally. Now, Sally's a very friendly turtle, except when she gets hungry, she gets snappy those times. And my friend Jackie has a pet hedgehog. Now, she calls it Spiky. Now, I think that's the most perfect name for a hedgehog. As much as Danny, Jackie, and I are best friends and we get along well together, our friends, our animal friends, didn't quite get along. Every time they see each other, they do this. They go round and round and round and round and round, eyeing each other, watching each other's movements. They go round and round and round and round. Now, we know that we couldn't leave them on their own too long. But one time we did. And this is what happened. We saw the chameleon biting the turtle biting the hedgehog, and the hedgehog biting the chameleon. Oh, it was mayhem. So Jackie, Danny, and I cried, "Stop!" But it was too late. Our animal friends were not the same again. Now I have a pet. I don't know what to call it because it's part chameleon and part hedgehog. What do you think is a good name for it? Chameleon hedgehog. Too long. Cami hedgehog. Camhog. Can you think of other names? But for now, I'll call it a camhog. Danny's pet is I don't know. It's not a full turtle anymore. It's part turtle and part chameleon. What should she call it? Chameleon, cam, turlian. Turlian. A turlian. A turlian. Now Jackie's hedgehog, it became this. It's not a hedgehog anymore. It's part hedgehog and part turtle. What should she call it? Hedge turtle, a hettle. Now, even though our animal friends are not the same as they used to, we love them just the same. And that, my friends, is an Animex, an animal mix.
I come from an educator space, and I love learning different tools that will engage the hearts and minds of children. So naturally, I wanted to learn how to write and illustrate Kamishibai stories so I can use them in my classroom. Here's one of the stories that I wrote and illustrated, and it's about learning the sound of the letter B. Enjoy! It's just a balloon. Here we have a balloon. Can we make it bigger? Okay, give it 3 big breaths. I've seen balloons bigger than this one. Can we try and make it bigger? Another 3 big breaths. Oh, now that's one big balloon. You want to make it even bigger? Well, just give it your biggest and longest breath. Ready? Oh, I think that's enough. Now we need to make a tie. We need to make a knot at the end of the balloon. Can you make a knot? Just like this. That's a beautiful knot. Oh, I
can feel the wind coming. Hold on tight to the balloon. Okay, hold on tight, hold on tight. It's much stronger now. Hold on tight. Are you holding tight? Okay, good. Because we do not want to lose our balloon. And the wind is still here, and it's blowing, and it's blowing. Hold on tight to you. Where did our balloon go? Is it still with you? No, it's not with me. It's not here. It's not there. Where could it be? Oh, here it is. I thought we lost that balloon. Oh, because of that wind. It blows so strongly, and it's not a balloon. It's just a butterfly. See those wings? Maybe. Oh, here it is. There's our yellow balloon. See, it's yellow, it's round, and it's not? Oh, it's just a bicycle tire. An interesting color. I think it's this one. You think so too? Yeah, I really believe that this is our... It's just a school bus. Oh, maybe it's this one. You think it's this one? Yeah, because it's very round and it's still very yellow. A hole? No, our balloon cannot have a hole. Oh, it's just a breakfast bagel or a donut. Whichever it is. I think I want to eat this after we find our balloon, of course, which is here. But it has a pointy end. You think it's the balloon that we're looking for? No, it's just a bee. Could our balloon landed in the ocean? Oh no. If it does, some of the fishies will think that it's their food and they might eat it and they might get a tummy ache. I hope our balloon doesn't float in the ocean like this. You think it's our balloon? No. Oh, it's just a boat. It's just a yellow boat. Oh, maybe our balloon got a little bit grubby from traveling all over, just like this. Finally, we found our... No, it's still not our balloon. Oh, it isn't. It's just a boot. Oh, where could it have gone? Oh, let's see what this next one is. Oh, it's just a balloon. Wait a minute. It's our balloon and we found it. Yay.
My audience is primarily children 6 years old and below. I go to schools, libraries, playgroups, and other special public events for children. When you perform to very young children, you also perform to their adults. So to their parents or their teachers if it's in a school setting. And when I take Kamishibai to schools, I perform for the adults as well to show them how they can create magic with a very simple tool such as picture cards. Kamishibai has generated interest among the adults who have seen me do it. So that's why I started running workshops for adults and tellers and children's librarians who would want to add something to their storytelling toolbox. Tip number 1, start with ready to tell Kamishibai. I started telling stories from published kamishibais, which was great because you're just starting out, so you get a feel of how kamishibai is told. You also develop preferences for styles and stories that you want to tell. And most importantly is that you experience the magic for yourself and you think of ways how to create that for your audience as well. Tip number 2, explore the different kamishibai stories already out there. You might want to look at the different styles of stories depending on your purpose and your audience. So there are narrative stories and they have a clear plot, beginning, middle, and end. They range from very simple plots to more complex ones. Then there are pattern stories. These can be narrative or non-narrative. And I bet you this is the most enjoyable of all the types that I have tried for all ages. And then there are knowledge about the world stories. I just call them that because they teach. So there are kamishibai stories that teach counting or basic maths and science and how-tos. Tip number 3, create your own. And this is my favorite. I felt the need to make my own kamishibai when the ready-made ones that I have didn't serve the purpose or the objectives I had for a performance or for a class. I learned how to make my own following Tara McGowan's book, The Kamishibai Classroom, as well as seeing stories told and written by other storytellers. Here are some shortcuts for you. You ask yourself these questions when you are about to make your own kamishibai story. So 1, what is your story about? I find that having an objective anchors and gives me a solid starting point. So for example, in the balloon story, the objective was to teach the sound of the letter B. 2, how will your story unfold? And you can see this, you can design this when you have a storyboard. The general number of cards is 12 or 16, but I also made 8 and 10, and it also worked out fine for my purpose and for my audience. 3, how do you plan for illustrations? Now you might think of how your story will unfold visually first, then words, or vice versa. But either way, I find using smaller pieces of paper helps solidify the story better. So this is my storyboard. It's just A4, folded in 8, numbered 1 to 8. This is where I draw my illustrations, draft only, and then I cut it up. And they will come to this. And this is where I can see for myself if the illustrations actually work in Kamishibai. So I can see the layout of the pictures. Okay, that looks good to me. Then the balloon disappeared. Okay, and remember the peekaboo element of Kamishibai, where you just show a little piece of the image before you reveal the complete one. Okay, is this our balloon? Okay, no, it's just a bagel. Okay, so that image works. Is this our balloon? Oh no, so that's too far from that edge. So I know I need to draw the bee closer to this edge to give an immediate image for the audience to see. And when I'm happy with the illustrations on these little pieces of paper, I then do the final illustrations on thick A5 size paper. And I usually use 200 GSM because I use paint and heavy ink. And then once I'm happy with them, I blow them up to the size of my stage. Now I find this process efficient because with these smaller pieces of paper, I don't need to put a lot of effort in it. So if I make a mistake, it's fine. It's not a lot of time wasted. Yeah, so I get to polish the images as I go through the different processes. 4, how are you gonna tell it? So a group of little children is a very good audience to tell a Kamishibai story in progress because they like hearing the same stories over and over again. And that means I get to practice the story that I want to polish over and over again. and to see which parts work, which parts don't work, and how the telling and manipulating the cards work together. So in the telling, I also ask children for their ideas, because I find that when their ideas are included, or when their own language is included in the story, it connects more with them. So I have this story where animals were about to eat a plastic bag in the ocean. And so I asked the children, what do we tell the character? And then they came up with a clever response, and they said, oh no, don't eat it, you might get a tummy ache. And so I decided, okay, we'll do a repetition of that sentence throughout the story, and they loved it. I hope these tips have been helpful to get you going on your own unique Kamishibai journey.